So recently the water dispenser on our GE refrigerator decided to just stop working. And what I found was that the crushed ice and the cubed ice was working fine, but the water was not. So in this particular refrigerator, we're talking about this model number, which is GSS25JSRFSS. So that's what we're talking about. So what I determined is that if you go underneath the refrigerator and you were to take off that black thing right there, which just pops right off, there would be a little coupling that's behind that. And if you pulled the coupling apart, on the right hand side of it is the feed that comes from the water line. And if I hit the water dispenser unit, water would shoot out of it, but it wasn't going up the left side. So I was able to determine that that means that the left side is a frozen line. And then later determined that on this particular model, what happens is that apparently GE didn't put enough insulation in behind the dispenser unit, so it freezes. It's a common thing. So there was two fixes. I'm going to show you them right now. The first was I cut a piece of trimmer line, like ordinary landscaping trimmer line, about 6 or 7 inches, and I put it up through this thing. And so if it ever freezes again, what you do is you just leave it hanging out about 1/2 inch. If it ever freezes, you just kind of yank on this and freeze the ice and lets the water flow again. But I also, what I did was I emptied out the freezer and I shut the freezer off. So I emptied the freezer out and I just literally turned this dial to 0 on the freezer. I left the freezer door open, took all the food out of it obviously, and put it into coolers. And then I let the door thaw. And once the door thawed, the water started flowing and I was able to use that little strainer line. But the big fix came because it kept freezing up still. As I went out to Lowe's and I bought a piece of this 1-inch thick foam insulation, and using some 3M double-sided adhesives, which you can kind of see in there on all 4 corners, I just put a piece of this foam behind the area of the freezer where the water dispenser unit is, and that keeps the freezing cold air from gives it just enough insulation to keep it from freezing that line. And ever since then it has been miraculously good. So we don't have any more of those issues. And if you come over here and the water there and you were to hit that, the water flows nice and free. I realize I just videotaped it and missed the whole thing, but there you go. Water flows nice and free and we haven't had any of that issue. So that's it. That's the easy fix. So put 1-inch foam insulation in behind the door using 3M double-sided adhesive. Put a piece of 6 or 7-inch string line trimmer into the hose, the end of the hose there, the attachment, and that ought to do it. And that ought to fix your freezing problem on a GE refrigerator of that model.